Okie dokie, we are on part 2 to how to draw Teela, and I'm going to go ahead and focus on drawing her in her classic pose that we see on the card back for Masters of the Universe toys in the 80s. She's got her staff, so I think I might go ahead and put that in, and I think that the leg that she's got the weight on is the opposite leg, away from the staff. So I'm gonna lightly get those placed. Have her outstretched arm there. I wouldn't be surprised if you can't see this, but at least you can see the motion that my hand is going in, if anything. And then I'm very lightly getting a kind of a stick structural figure in there. The placement of the head. Yeah, so there's nothing really to that, you know. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that there's that tilt in the hips. Just going to have high hips. I'm going to get the shape, the pelvic area in there. I'm going to go ahead and put in the box shape for the rib cage. I want to make sure I get this shoulder down, so I'm going ahead and change that, make sure that I got that tilt happening, how these are at opposite angles here. I'm still going to go ahead and make sure, I'm going to try to get her as big on the page as I can, even though she's a slim figure. I'd like to utilize the space if at all possible, and go ahead and even beef up the size to these shapes. Kind of exaggerate the pose a little bit if I can. Start to finalize the directions of some of those shapes. I'm doing tapered cylinders again for everything. So they're wider at the top, and then they have that incline towards the joints of the figure. And the knees should line up on a line, they do. The elbow should line up with the pelvic at the top of this pelvic shape here, which it pretty much does. I'm breaking this up just a little bit so I can emphasize the middle of her. So she's, I'm right now I feel like she's kind of facing this way. So maybe we'll see the front of her hand. I'm going to go ahead and get the collarbone in there. Even though she's got a long neck, I want to be real conscious about how far away her ear is from the shoulder. Get the bottom of the chin in there. Top of the head. I always make the head a little bit too big at first, and then I kind of whittle it down from there. Generally speaking, that could change at any moment. Who knows? I really want to emphasize how tall she is. But, you know, not still within the realm of realistic girl too. But she's, you know, she came across to me as a taller woman. You know, does she have, I think, yeah, you know what, let's give her heels. So I'm just going to point her toes down a little bit. I don't know. It seems like she did on the card back to me. I could be wrong. I'm not looking at the card back right now, and kind of wanted this to just be more organic. Thinking about the back of the leg. When I draw part of the body, I find it very useful to think about my own body, even on female figures, of course, and to kind of feel the back of my leg, for example, and how there would be kind of a stress in there in this pose, because we're going to have it's kind of a a classic like figure drawing pose, which is maybe what I find attractive about this pose for her. It's anytime I have a chance, I'll pose a Teela figure in that card back pose. It's very classic looking and very beautiful. Okay, so she's kind of roughed out now. I'm not going to draw her straight on because we just drew her straight on for the head in part 1. So I'm going to angle her head 3/4 here, just because I don't like to draw the same thing twice in a row a lot of the time. And again, I think, well, yeah, let's see here. Even though, the tendency I think is to draw the neck too long a lot of the time. I don't want too much exaggeration, but I do want a slender, long neck. Even though it's going to be covered up because of the headgear. Or maybe we won't draw the headgear. You know what? Yeah, let's not draw the headgear. I'll draw Teela in the pose without the headgear this time because I want to draw the body, and it gets covered up too much. Might be a little premature in putting on those face details. Maybe not. Making sure that, if anything, like, I think it's better to err on the side of making the neck too thin. At least for me. It might be different for other people, but I think for this kind of drawing and for this type of figure, that's what's going to work. Okay, so if she's not going to have the majority of that crazy headgear, we'll do her hair up kind of in a bun, like how she is in the cartoon. I might be kind of improvising here with part of her headgear, but I remember the gist of it. Now I'm going to go ahead and emphasize the edges of the body a bit and kind of finalize the shape, make sure I've got it, get her kind of thin. I want to make sure that it feels natural and there's like a weight to the pose. I don't want it to feel stiff. I'm thinking about, I think we're kind of looking up at her, which I like. So, but in that case, it almost feels like we're looking at the underside of her arm. So we've got a bit of an armpit we can define in there. Give her realistic breasts. How, well, at least initially, I imagine there's a piece underneath that goes across both of her breasts, and then she's got that armor that then goes back and re-emphasizes it, I guess. But it looks like battle armor, kind of a seashell design. My dog is providing the background music with the scratching and the jingling. Okay, and then she's got trying to remember, it's really kind of a crazy I knew I was going to be doing this part, I probably should have maybe brought some reference, but it's something like this. And then she's got the belt, so I'll probably go ahead and draw the string for the belt before drawing on these discs that kind of comprise some of her armor. Then I believe she's got those feather leaf-like design that comes down. Those gauntlets in there. Arm bracers. You can kind of put a little bit of shadow on the dip under the muscle here. I think her arm's a little too long, so we say, "Hello, friend eraser," and shorten it up a little bit. I always hope that I can find a balance between really beautiful and feminine looking figures and figures that look like they can kick some ass. That's what I find fun to draw, and that's who these characters tend to be, so I want to be true to them. So hopefully you can kind of see Teela coming together. I'm going to go ahead and make some decisions about where things are. Get those boots in there. I love drawing the fur. Her fur is more stylized, which I like. It looks more feminine, so it kind of has a cone shape in the front. Maybe dips down a little bit. Figure out exactly where that knee is going to be. Have that dip in the back. You think about which muscle is going to be seen where. Like this, on this side it's higher, so it's more like a ball that exists up here, where on the other side it's a longer muscle. Think about where the heel is, and then how the foot comes down. And I find that the best way to get a foot to look accurate is to think about drawing through it and drawing the under part, figuring out where it's touching the ground before drawing the top of it. Then you can kind of circle back and draw the top. Sometimes easier said than done, but that's the basic idea. You know, and again, keep it light. Okay, so she's got the arch coming down. You can tell that the weight is on this straight leg, hopefully. I'm going to go ahead and put the heel down so it doesn't look like she's just standing on her tippy toes. Alright, and you probably have to adjust this leg a little bit. Now, even though I drew that and I'm erasing it, I'm not like erasing it all the way. I'm erasing it so I can see the ghost of what I did and use that as a guide. to redraw the leg in a place that looks better. So I'm looking at this leg to think about how far away this foot should be from this foot, and that helps me place it. I'm drawing the heel. So the toe, this could be either the bottom of her, yeah, that'd be where her toes are. You know, the foot is thinner where it connects up here, and then it becomes flat as it comes down the ground, kind of a triangle shape. You can see the heel coming out from behind that shape. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the actual heel of the boot, which is right next to where the toes would be, since the heel is behind the toes there. Yeah, and this could still all be changed, but it might not be like right on right now, but it's close. I'm thinking about what we see here, that there's a nice straight line that comes through there, and then here's where you can see that actually this side is going to be really back. We're going to see a little bit more of a bulge here, I believe. So she's in, actually, yeah, I gotta work on this arm. Okay, so we're gonna get the bicep in there. I feel like, yeah, you know, I want to make it seem like her arm is just kind of hanging from this staff. So I'm thinking about what part of her hand would it be that's touching this. Let's just go ahead and, I think we're going to see her thumb out first, hooked around that, and I'm going to go ahead and have kind of a loose grip, at least at this point. So I'm going to draw the last 3 fingers of her hand as one shape for the time being, which could be changed. Thinking about, see, here's the middle of her hand. Here's the back. Well, that's too big still. So I'm going to draw her hand as one big shape, or almost as one big shape. It's still too big, but good enough for now. Think about, let's see, this would be like the, yeah, that looks about right. You can think about where this muscle comes down from the shoulder, and this would be the top of the arm. You got your bicep here, and we're seeing a little bit the underside of the arm. There's this separation here you can see when you're toned. And then in the inside of the forearm, there's these 2 muscles that fit around the bicep. Don't know the names to a lot of the muscles offhand, but they're there. Okay, I'll just kind of darken some of my lines. So now I've got enough lines on there where I can pick and choose. Give her kind of a nice, thin, young frame. And this will get me well on my way to the point where I can go back and put some hatch marks in and some shadows. So here's her first finger pointing out. You can kind of imagine the middle finger at a slightly less of an angle behind that one. And maybe, yeah, actually it would look nice if I could get those other fingers in there. So, and now, you know, the darkest lines will always be the bottoms of things. Give shapes and forms a little weight to them. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of shadow under here because, you know, when it starts to convince me, then it becomes easier to make adjustments. And sometimes it takes putting in those darks to inform me of the next move. Like putting in that shadow there clued me in to this. So I gotta always tell myself to keep moving around the piece. You know, don't get stuck in one spot because it'll never get done. Get it done, you know, like every single time I finish a piece, every single time I see things afterwards that I'd like to go back and change. Once in a while I'm really happy with the piece where I don't care, and now, you know, it doesn't bother me. I still notice the stuff, but I don't think that's ever gonna stop. And well, I mean, maybe it will. Maybe it will eventually, but it hasn't so far. And, you know, like I said, once I step away from this, I could see something changing. That happens, you know. And it's good, you know, because you want it to be the best you can, and sometimes you can't see stuff right away. It happens to me a lot, you know. I like to spend as much time as I can on something. Sometimes you can't, but it's helpful to walk away. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of get some of the darker lines in here for you guys, and then I'm gonna detail this off camera before we scan it in. And I always mess with the levels a little bit. It makes the pencil look more like pen, which is awesome. One of the millions of things I love about working in a computer. So you can see what this looks like at the end credits and probably at the beginning of the video. And I hope you guys are digging these. If you have any suggestions about characters you'd like to see me draw, I'll give it a shot. It doesn't have to be He-Man ones. I'm just doing some of my favorites for the time being. Please check out the links below. Check out the links to my Threadless page, to my Instagram, and give us a like and a follow. That'd be great. I hope you guys are having a great week. Take care.